and welcome to the Bright Life Podcast. I'm Jessica Johnson, and today is kind of fun because I am experimenting with putting this episode and hopefully future ones onto YouTube. So if you would like to follow along there, you can search for Bright Life Podcast or Hi Jessica Johnson and find the channel there. I don't know about you, but sometimes it's kind of fun to be watching like a girlfriend on YouTube talking as you're getting ready in the morning and just feel like you have that connection of actually seeing a face instead of just the audio. So if you like that, just let me know. Leave a comment on YouTube or leave a review on here, and I will try and make sure I am honoring whatever's best for you. So welcome. I'm really excited you're here. And if you see me looking down on the YouTube, I've got my notes as I normally would. So that's why. And we'll just figure out how this goes. So today I wanted to talk about how it is so normal for things to feel harder and to take longer the first time you do them. I've been hearing a lot from my community around just that feeling of when you are starting a business or you're putting together your website or you're getting your first client. It's hard. Like, you are learning so much new technology. You are figuring out what works on the fly. Maybe you've never done any of this. Maybe you're coming from a different career where this feels just so foreign and so new to you. And if that is the case, what I want to share with you today is that that is actually the most normal thing in the world. You are not behind. You are not too slow. You are not figuring it out too late. It's actually just a very normal thing that happens whenever you are doing something for the first time. Now, I have seen this for years with my coaching clients, whether it comes to starting a business in copywriting, to launching a graphic design business, to taking the leap from corporate to maybe build a health coaching business or anything like that. It is consistent across industry. And what I want you to think of it as is kind of like when you go to the gym. And if you haven't been in a while, it can feel very hard and tiresome to those muscles, right? And as you are learning any new move, at first, it's really confusing. It's like maybe someone who's been going to the gym for years, it's not a big deal to do a bicep press, I don't even know if that's the word, a bicep curl, or an Arnold press. Maybe I'm getting those swapped. So this is a great example, right? But like, if you are going and you're looking at those moves on YouTube or on a video for the first time, and you're trying to figure out how you can match what the trainer is doing, and then you're trying to remember it the next time or for the set, it's hard, it's fatiguing, it takes a lot of mental energy as well as physical energy, doesn't it? And that is so accepted though. If you're going to the gym, it's almost like, of course, I'm building a new muscle. I'm learning something new. Like, of course, this is going to be hard. So you have to extend yourself the same compassion if you are writing a book for the first time, starting a podcast, figuring out how to even build a website or make a portfolio. It's very, very normal, just as you're building muscles at the gym and it's hard at first and it's uncomfortable and you might be tired for days after. That's just the way it goes, even in a more business or creative setting. So that's the first thing to remember. What I always tell my clients and students in my programs is that it takes you 10 times longer to do something the first time than it will subsequent times. So when I was starting my business and when I was writing for clients and businesses, and maybe I'd help them with their website or with a blog, the first time that I worked with a client, it took me a really long time to produce that blog post. So whereas normally I could maybe crank out a blog post in like an hour or sometimes 30 minutes by the time I got really good at it, if it was a new client, it would still take me hours to write that first blog post the first time I did it, because I was learning so much about their business and their industry and the terms they used, and I was researching things. So if that can be true for me when I've been in an industry 10 or 15 years, it's very normal that it's going to be the same for you if you are just starting in an industry or just building your business or working with a new kind of client for the first time. So a little permission and grace there around it may take 10 times longer the first time and feel 10 times harder. But what I want you to remember is that is not going to be the way it feels 1 year from now, or 1 month from now, or maybe even next week, like the second time you work with a client. Because you're going to have put in the effort of figuring so much out this first time, of learning what works, what doesn't, setting the foundations of the relationship, that the next time you do something, you're going to have literally all of those neural pathways built, and you're not going to be making your brain work as hard to physically forge new pathways and figure things out. All right, so it's going to be better. And if you're feeling at all discouraged that this is really hard, maybe it's harder than you thought it would be, just remember that the experience you're having now, maybe the first or second time you've done something, is not going to be the way it feels a year from now, or maybe even in a few weeks. What's going to happen is you're going to spend 10 times less time. It's going to feel 10 times easier. And so just don't get discouraged too early if that's the experience you're having. Don't question if you've made the wrong choice or the wrong decision. Give yourself the time, just like you would at a gym, to go and do the reps and to build the muscle and to forge the neural pathways and the muscle memory so that it truly has a chance to feel easier. Like I mentioned, and you can borrow this example if it's helpful for you, but when I was writing and when I was writing a blog every weekday for years, now it's so easy for me to think of things to write, to think of things to share with you. I always have ideas I'm keeping in my notepad because I trained the muscle of having to come up with something 5 days a week for years. Was it harder at first? Yes, I had to leverage every resource out there to figure out what am I gonna say this week. But your brain starts to pay attention. So whether you're learning a new instrument, whether you're building a business, whether you're learning how to build a website, it does get easier. It really does. So keep going. The other thing that I want you to remember is that everything you're doing now will serve you and make your future easier. Meaning, if you are spending a ton of time building a portfolio right now, maybe of your interior design services, your home renovation options, maybe your graphic design work, your writing work, and it's taking you a long time to put together that portfolio, just remember that that is time that you will not have to spend doing it again. From now on, you will have that portfolio and body of work, and you can just add to it one simple client at a time instead of going and finding your first 5 or 10 clients and, even making samples that build up this portfolio or website. So just remember that what you're doing now isn't going to be the experience that you have forever. You're going to put in the work now to make it easier to get that future client, to have a testimonial, to bring in income. Because once you get those first few clients, you now have the testimonials, you have maybe the before and after shots or the transformations that make it easier to get that next client. And then to get the next and the next. And once you have a body of work and demonstrated work, you can raise your rates. You can make it even easier to get clients. You can make a system so that someone else can maybe even help you put those new transformations into your portfolio. So you don't have to be doing the heavy lifting the entire time you are building your creative endeavor or business. You can actually put in this work now, know it's a finite season, and know it will pay off the rest of your business. This is something that Seth Godin, who's this online marketer, one of the early ones before it really became a thing to be an online marketer, he has this theory called the gap. And in the gap, he talks about the dip. The dip is what it's called. But in the dip is that period where it's really hard to put in the work and to get over the hurdles. And it's usually where people stop. It's usually where businesses feel like, I can't figure this out, and so I'm going to stop and pivot to another direction. But he's like, if you can get through that initial dip, then you are going to have created this huge gap. That's where I was going with that term. This huge gap between where people start and where people continue and are able to succeed. And you'll have put in that work. So not only will you have gone through that kind of valley and hard season, but it'll be that much harder for competitors to catch up to you because they also have to face that really uncomfortable, really challenging dip. So just remember that yes, it may be hard right now. It may be frustrating. You may be learning things that you have never learned or haven't even paid attention to since grade school. But not only will it become easier as you keep going, not only will you become faster at it, but it will also be the thing that separates you and makes you successful, and that all great people go through to get the result and to create the business of their dreams or the life of their dreams or the freedom or whatever it may take. So, encouragement there. And if you are watching or listening to this and you're just thinking, yes, I'm in that season, I want to just celebrate you too, because do you realize how rare it is that you have already taken the chance on your dreams? Maybe you've already given your notice to your corporate job if your dream is to start a business. Maybe you have already announced on social media that you have started this thing. And maybe your initial reaction is, wow, I didn't get the result I thought I would, or this is harder and scarier than I imagined. But you have done something that so few people ever do. You have already done the big scary thing and gone through your own dip in a way to actually leave what's comfortable and move towards your dreams. So I want to just celebrate you there, and I hope you can use that as evidence that you can do this. You've already done something remarkable that so few people ever do, because it is so uncomfortable to do something new, and your body and your brain fight you on it, and they say, this is not comfortable, this is not what we know, let's go back to what we know, even if it's not what you want, but it feels right because it's familiar. So I just want to celebrate you in that, and I want to encourage you to keep going, to keep iterating, and just hold the vision of yourself a year from now when it's so much easier and you're so much faster at it, and you have this full roster of clients, or a fulfilling business, or more freedom in your life, or the health of your dreams, or a relationship that really lights you up. And just know that in this season, you did the hard things and it was worth it, and what you have on the other side of it just makes everything you're figuring out now so fulfilling and so worth what you're learning and going through. All right, if you love this, then make sure you subscribe, leave a review or a comment, and I will see you again soon.